Hello, it's Kathy from Chill Mama here, and I been asked a question by one of the starting solid facilitators that I trained, a really good question. Um, there was a government report out in July, so just gone, from the Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition, and it's a report about feeding young children aged 1 to 5. And she asked if any of it is relevant to weaning. Um, so I was really pleased to. I just had a quick look, and the first thing to tell you is everything that it talks about is what we talk about on the Starting Solids workshop and training for facilitators. But in terms of what the information passing on to parents, um, so everything about giving it really backs up what we do, giving children a wide variety of fruits and vegetables so they can experience lots of different tastes, about having being canny shopper and being thinking about being aware of what sugar. They specifically talk about children's yogurts. I shall highlight in there, but children's yogurt's one of the main ways that children get sugar. It also talks about no need for formula milk or growing up milks past one. And there's a couple of really interesting bits. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. I just thought I would, but it absolutely backs up everything that we do. And First Steps Nutrition Trust have also printed a response, so I will put that in the comments as well. One of the things that they look at in terms of their in their conclusions, they just note that probably unsurprisingly, it's probably similar to the general population. Generally, children. This is only looking at 1 to 5 year olds. Generally, 1 to 5 year olds have more sugar in their diet than is recommended, and have less fibre and higher saturated fats. And that's possibly in line with the rest of the population. I think as a society, our diet is very similar to that. They looked at some evidence around research, and they said that some things, probably not surprising again, higher free sugars in children aged 1 to 5 associated with more dental caries, so holes in your teeth. Interesting, it said higher total protein intake in children 1 to 5 associated with higher BMI, and that higher child BMI weight status associated with higher risk of adult being overweight and obesity. Obviously, the whole issue about BMI and weighing children and stuff is a whole other thing. Here's evidence that repeated taste exposure to a vegetable, here they've got 8 to 10 times, can increase the consumption of that vegetable in the short term. So in the next 8 months, they're more likely to eat that. But I suppose if you carry on eating it, then they're going to carry on eating more of it, aren't they? And that's one of the things we talk about in the Starting Solids. The yogurt thing I told you. Okay, so that fromage frais and children's dairy desserts was among the top contributors to free sugar intake in children's 1 to 1.5 years, providing approximately a fifth of free sugar intake, so 18%, so approximately a fifth of their sugar they're getting from their yogurts. The dairy industry has been typically a big funder and a lobbyer of government. We used to find that the high dairy intake in terms of yogurts and things would find its way into all sorts of recommendations. Where was the next thing I was going to say? Age 1 to 1.5 65% of that age group consumed commercially manufactured foods or drinks marketed specifically for the infants and young children, and those commercially manufactured foods for these children contributed 20% of their free sugars. We talk about in the Starting Solids workshops, in the training, how a lot of commercial baby food, it has a lot of free sugars in. They have a lot of fruit juice to make it, be able to squish it through the pouches and to sweeten it in general. And they found that the nutrient composition of many of these products was inconsistent with dietary requirements for the age group, and particularly sugar and salt. So commercially manufactured foods, including finger foods, don't follow nutritional guidelines for the 1 to 5 year olds and have more sugar and salt than they should. Interestingly, so formula milks for children over 1. So the follow-on, they say that these children 1 and up some of them were having follow-on formula or milk specifically marketed for children over 1. So toddler milks or growing up milks were consumed by just over a third, 36%, so just over a third of 1 to 5s were having were having some kind of formula milk, and that contributed 50% of their free sugars, which is really interesting, isn't it? One of the things that also they looked at in terms of the research was that and this is one of the big changes that I think will come out of this report, because these are recommendations, so they haven't changed the guidance yet. They looked at the research, and so at the moment, what the recommendation is that babies have breast milk or formula milk, just stage 1 formula milk, until they are 1, and then they move on to cow's milk, and it's been recommended that it's whole milk that they have as their main drink. But the researchers said that actually for over 1s, 1.5 year olds, replacing whole cow's milk with semi-skimmed cow's milk for children 1 to 1.5, unlikely to have a detrimental effect. So I think that will be a change that we'll see, will be the recommendation that once they're 1, they can move on to semi-skimmed milk. But it can be semi-skimmed or whole milk. Fully skimmed milk is not recommended. So I thought that was an interesting one. Another little interesting thing. So, continue breastfeeding beyond the age of 1 is a protective against malocclusion, so teeth that are not properly aligned, because breastfeeding, the way that they breastfeed, helps jaw development and stops it stops teeth being wobbly. Where's the next bit? So now we're on to their recommendations. So that was looking at the evidence I've talked about so far. So a lot of it is about the sugar levels. They say milk or water in addition to breast milk can constitute the majority of drinks given to 1 to 5 year olds. That pasteurised whole or skimmed milk is the main drink from age 1. Goats and sheep milk, and obviously breast milk as well. She talked about that not rice milk, not fully skimmed or 1% milk, and that 1 to 5 year olds shouldn't get sugar sweetened beverages, and that dairy products such as yogurts and fromage frais should be unsweetened. So it also says that formula milks for 1 to 5 year olds. So any kind of growing up milk or any kind of infant formula milk is not required. It's not required after they're 1. They don't need them. That commercially manufactured foods and drinks marketed specifically for infants and young children are not needed to meet nutritional requirements. So a lot of parents feel that if it's going to be better than the food that they make, and that somehow it's superior because it's marketed for infants, so therefore it must be the right thing. But actually, they're saying it's not. It is not needed and has more sugar and salt, and not than they need. It says here children should be prevented with lots of unfamiliar vegetables on multiple occasions, which is absolutely the sort of thing that we recommend. There's the only thing it says about allergens is don't make sure you're giving peanuts or hen's eggs before they're 1, and generally we would say, in that 6 to 12 months window, nearer the 6 months is good. And there's stuff about vitamin supplementation, but it's not really any different to what we already have. So final conclusions, strategies to support and promote, this is obviously for government bodies to consider to promote and support and promote continuation of breastfeeding into the 2nd year of life. They would like to see UK dietary recommendations for children 1 to 5 years, feeding an appropriate and diverse diet that meets nutritional requirements, and good oral health and awareness about vitamins. And they recommend considering strategies to reduce consumption of free sugars and excess protein, and foods including snacks that are energy dense, high in saturated fat, salt or free sugars, so encouraging higher uptake of healthier snacks, and to reduce consumption of sugar sweetened beverages. So very similar to what we would have already, but obviously the big one there being the semi-skim milk, and everything else being, and the avoiding the yogurts with sugar. That was a lot, wasn't it? Almost 1/5 of their sugar they're getting from their yogurts, and 1/3 of children having formula, some kind of formula milk after 1, and it being 20% of their sugar. Interesting. Anyway, I hope that's useful. I will print a link. I'll post a link for this and a link for the First Steps Nutrition Trust response. I hope you find it helpful.